So if we entered into a real civil war, that's the assessment of a number of our political pundits. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of what these left-wing activists disguised as journalists have to say, and then we're going to see for ourselves what's really going on in the midst of these riots run rampant, and answer the question, are we entering into a civil war? You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here. I certainly hope you're all having a very safe week. If this is your first time here at this channel, warm welcome to you. We post 2 videos a day analyzing current events, analyze some super awesome conservative trends so you can live in the present in light of even better things to come. We help you to think better so that you can feel better, right? So if you haven't already done so, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You're going to love interacting with this online community of conservatives from all over the world. They're simply the best. So let's begin. Over to you, right, with our video chat question of the day. Do you believe that America has entered a civil war? Let us know in the comments section below. Do you believe that these riots represent nothing less than a very real civil war erupting in the United States? Because we're going to find that there are indeed several pundits who believe precisely that. Now, we've always wondered what another civil war would look like if it happened, and it appears that with these riots, many believe we're staring right in its face. But first, if the coronavirus situation has turned your financial life upside down and you need help to sort out your choices to get you back on track, you should talk to our good friends over at Noble Gold. With the stock market returning minus 10% since the start of the year, you might be surprised, pleasantly so, that gold has actually gained ground by around 15%. Well, the team over at Noble Gold, they've helped hundreds of families through this crisis, and they can guide you back to safety and give you ideas of how to get there. So remember, when you need a financial friend, Noble Gold will always be there for you. Give them a call at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. You can hit the link down below and get their free investor's guide. Tell them Dr. Steve sent you. They're good friends to this channel. You'll be glad that you did. All right, gang, take a look at this headline from the New York Times ultra-leftist Paul Krugman. Trump takes us to the brink. Will weaponize racism destroy America? Now, one of the more bizarre screeds I've read today, Krugman completely ignores the carnage, the looting, the riots, the arson, the mayhem that have plagued our city streets. And instead, he excoriates President Trump as the one who's weaponizing race in America. In fact, without a shred of evidence, he takes the obnoxious leap of what remains of any semblance of logic to link Trump's support of police officers to the violent, murderous act perpetrated against George Floyd. There's no left-wing cause that Krugman wouldn't shill for, and his latest piece does not disappoint in that endeavor. Or take this one. Is the United States on the brink of another civil war? Again, this is a little more than a leftist screed written by a radical activist disguised as a journalist who seems utterly incapable of seeing beyond cultural Marxist frames of reference to understand what's really going on right now in our nation with these clashes. Or take this one here. We're still fighting the last battles of the first Civil War. So according to these activists, the Civil War never really ended, right? It still has battles that have yet to be fought and won. So it's pretty clear as far as I can see, whether we're dealing with the New York Times or whether we're dealing with more peripheral news outlets, that there is a genuine concern that we're seeing out there among our pundits that there is nothing less than a full-blown civil war erupting here, right? Now, I think these analysts are rather clueless to what's going on and what is actually transpiring here. In all of these assessments that I've read, left-wing hysteria, left-wing meltdowns, whether over Trump or Kavanaugh or the Covington High School kids or whatever it is, whether it's Robert De Niro getting up in front of the entire nation on national television yelling F Trump over and over again to the applause of our Hollywood elite, or the late-night television clowns mocking and ridiculing Trump and his supporters every night, or the 3-year Russian collusion hoax perpetrated on the American people, wasted tens of millions of dollars of taxpayer money, or the impeachment circus. All these things are completely ignored by these left-wing activists disguised as journalists. So they clearly, in my opinion, have no clue of what's really going on here. Now, we did a video on this a couple of years ago on this very question. Are we entering into a civil war? And our conclusion then, as it is now, is that I don't think we're headed for a civil war. I think we're already in one. I think we've already been in a civil war that's remained relatively limited to left-wing hysterics and social media meltdowns and tweens and all that. But now it's gone to the next level where we have liberal left-wing governors and mayors and politicians actually defending and indeed even encouraging riots. I think November 8th in the election of Donald Trump was the defining opening shot, the shot heard around the world, at least here in the United States. It signaled a mass offensive by the pro-nationalist, populist, traditionalist forces that they believe the days of left-wing globalization are indeed over. And what we have to understand is that behind everything that's going on right now is the implosion of something. And that something is what scholars call modernity. Simply put, modernity is the enthronement of scientific rationalism as the one true way of knowing the world. A one-size-fits-all form of knowledge for all peoples, all times, all places. And what scholars have noticed is that global populations simply don't believe this anymore. The vast majority of the world's population actually wants nothing to do with European modernity. Instead, Western cultures in particular become what we call postmodern, in that they've increasingly rejected modernity in favor of a plurality of cultural ways of knowing and being in the world. But here's the major problem to that. Even though populations have rejected modernity, that has not stopped our Western elites, our political, corporate, and media elites from continuing to export modernity in the form of globalism and globalization in a one-size-fits-all political and economic system that seeks to impose on global populations the very modernity that they are more and more rejecting. And so what Krugman and the New York Times and CNN don't understand is that what we're seeing today is a massive backlash all over the world against globalization, where populations are once again reasserting their nation's cultures, customs, and traditions as mechanisms of resistance against the anti-cultural processes of globalization and its secular aristocracy, its political class, its ruling class. And so what's happening, and I think this is absolutely key to understand what's going on here, what's happening is that this modernity project has basically broken up. It's shattered into various instances of tribalisms, nationalisms, secessionism, balkanization, social fission. The very modernist concept of the world that held a globalist world together has shattered. And populations are breaking up into pieces, which means that we now really only have two choices. We can either embrace a multi-ethnic civic nationalism, like what characterizes the United States and Russia, where a dominant ethno-cultural tradition provides the point of unity for multiple ethnicities, or we break up into tribalisms, into various ethno-nationalist groups. So it's either civic nationalism or it's ethno-nationalism. It's one or the other because globalism is no longer a viable option. And what we're seeing here emerge in all of this is the remaining corporatist globalist outlets such as Democratic politicians and woke executives, of corporate America, CEOs and the like, and especially the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times. We're seeing our Hollywood elite. We're seeing our university professors. They've all collectively taken a side, and they've collectively sided with the tribalists, with the cultural Marxists, ethno-nationalists, which means that today CNN is every bit a part of what we refer to as the alt-right as Richard Spencer. They are every bit the advocates for a tribalist conception of the world, as is the alt-right. And on the other side, it's President Trump and sympathetic Republicans, what's left of them, that are defending the sentiments of the vast majority of counties in America, the red states, the vast majority who want to embrace a renewed civic nationalism, not white supremacism. That's how a cultural Marxist tribalist conceives of it. No, a civic nationalism where the nation is the race. The nation is a single people of multiple ethnicities unified around nation, culture, custom, and tradition, which means, of course, that either way, nationalism wins in this clash. Nation, culture, custom, tradition, either the civic level or the tribal level wins in this clash. The question now is what country are we going to have? Are we going to have a nation characterized by a bunch of gutless, pandering so-called leaders who spew out meaningless, politically correct euphemisms to placate growing tribalist sentiments? Or are we going to embrace a thoroughgoing nationalist populism at the civic level that seeks to bind all Americans together in an America First nationalist populist agenda? That decision is really in our hands. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on Trump sending in the military to stop the riots as left-wing media liberals have a hysterical meltdown. It's going to make your day, so make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.